And we're live. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Jackson, Cracker Jacks,
Hey
and
everyone.
Jackson is here to tell us about a tournament that's coming up, which is a double tournament, two tournaments in one weekend. Welcome, Jackson. How have you been since we last talked?
I've been doing great. Been doing a lot of travel, a lot of not necessarily local tournaments. I've been traveling all over the Midwest, over to Indiana and Pittsburgh and Ohio and Michigan, all over the place
Hmm?
to go play bolt action and go see family and friends. So
Yeah.
it's been a very fun and productive last couple of months. So I've
And
been very
for
good.
people who are unaware, Jackson recently actually won a tournament in Indiana using a not very competitive dark army, which was kind of nice. And very well painted, by the way. Pictures online. Go and watch the forums for that. Um, and and Jackson, you just admitted to me that it was all down to dice. Is that right?
Yeah, it. I'd say probably 60% dice, 40% me.
Okay.
I'd
Which
err on the side of that.
which massively messes up with what I have planned for these days because I'm looking over all the different stats and stuff from World of War, and I'm like trying to figure out how much is it the list, how much is it the player. But okay, sometimes it's just dice. Oh, no.
hmm
But there are still dice in this game, right? It's still a dice game. Right. But today we're going to talk about the upcoming double tournament. I'll just share my screen and we can show you what is going on. Here we go. So, and I'll just do the slideshow here. Just a sec. If it wants to go. There we go. So, Forces of Freedom in Michigan um, in January. So, we're pretty close now, a couple of months out. Um, and where are you hosting all this?
Yeah, so this is going to be hosted at the local Veterans for Foreign Wars post in Southgate, Michigan. So it's
Yeah.
about probably it's maybe 10 minutes south of Detroit. Sorry, my dog is going wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at the local veterans branch, they gave us a very competitive rate for their event hall as well as their they have a very nice uh, bar and kitchen. So they'll open us up for lunch as well and dinner, and it should be a very good time. They have plenty of space to host us, and with myself and my co-TO Jeff, who's a member at the post, he we thought that it was going to be really fun to host a bunch of World War II
Mm,
events at
mm.
a veterans organization. So all the guys can come in and go see what it's about, and
Yeah.
yeah, so that's why we picked it, and that's
Sounds
where we're hosting
absolutely
it.
brilliant. Now, the whole concept for this is on the first day you are TOing a competitive event, and on the second day it will be an event for rookies, for noob players, for beginning players. Um,
Correct.
so the first day that we have the details here, by the way. The first day is Operation Grizzly, and the second day is Warbirds, and it also says here that you are trying to get demo events for all the other games that are being played from all the games here. So, is that a sure thing? Do you have like people coming in with demoing that? Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of small clubs. Maybe so like Bolt Action is obviously fairly large around the Midwest, but some of these
Mm,
other ones, Victory at Sea, Blood Red Skies, they aren't necessarily played a lot, but there are a couple of people who absolutely love them,
yeah.
and so we asked these kind of community leaders to come in and demo
Mm,
for all the veterans that can come in because all the veterans can come into the post for free.
yeah.
And so what we wanted to do is set something up, one for each branch of the military that you might have been in. And
Ah,
so
nice.
no matter what you see, you can come in and say, oh well, I was in the Air Force, so let's play some
Yeah.
Blood Red Skies,
Yeah.
or I was in the
Yeah.
Navy, let's play some
Yeah.
Victory at Sea.
Mm,
So we did that. So while a lot of the players are going to be doing bolt action, um, we wanted the veterans to have a variety of different like active eye candy that they
yeah.
can enjoy and hop in with.
As it's one of the things that I've always wanted to do is to have like an event day where there was blood red skies, victory at seas, and everything sort of connects. Where like one game would have an effect on the other game. That's the dream. And in this case, it's just very nice to have all these different kinds of immersive World War II games, and yeah, maybe especially fitting in a veteran location. I really like that. So tell us about the first one, Operation Grizzly.
Yes. So Saturday is going to be Grizzly. That's the event that I'm running. So that's
Yep,
kind of if from our discussion with cricket, the packet is going to be very similar, at least from a comp perspective.
yep,
Except I noticed that in the last tournament that I hosted, I didn't allow theater selectors, but I allowed theater units, and that was a bit confusing. So I was just
yeah.
like, all right, let's force you to take a theater selector. So that's going to be the big
Interesting.
thing. 1,000 points, and you have to take a theater selector. So especially with Case Blue that came out, Tough
Oh
Gut,
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of very interesting choices that players can make.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so the we'll get into the details of the comp, but that's the big thing. So 14 dice max at 1,000 points,
Mm,
which is fairly standard for my events.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
one platoon, because I also noticed that dual platoon was people were cheesing like crazy. So I was like, all right, let's try and limit it because I want to encourage a
Dual
variety of
platooning
different
does
players to come
allow
in.
you to spam certain units, and that can typically be good for competitive play. But then again, if you're just going down to one platoon, then something else happens, and you have to branch out a little bit. And especially, I think with 1,000 points, single platoon, 14 order dice, I think some players are going to be forced to spend points on expensive units or expensive tanks, which is basically what we want to see more of. So that's always good. But
Yeah,
it's really interesting that you're running all theater platoons. A bold move, I'd say, after Case Blue. But yeah,
yeah. So I think that's going to allow players to really customize their force,
it is.
and
Yeah,
especially because I have a paint standard required for this
mhm,
one.
yeah,
People will really be able to dive in the story and dive in the
yeah,
fluff and take what they love.
yeah.
I already had one list come in. He's running Market Garden Americans with the British Air Reserve. So I
Nice.
am
Yeah,
quite excited to see that,
yeah,
with all the veteran paratroopers and all the veteran, like everything has to be veteran.
yeah,
But that is a awesome selector, and so I was
yeah.
very happy to see that as the first submission that I received.
Nice. Um, if I was to go to an event like that, there are two routes I think you could go, because you could go and you could like browse through all the different theater selectors, and like me and Alistair, the Scottish captain, we've walked through most of the theater selectors. Uh, Not Case Blue and not Tough Gut, but and you could just pick out the ones that are the strongest, because there are strong theater selectors. But you could also go the route that you just described, where you want to create like this very specific force. For me, like the Germans that assaulted across the bridge in Arnhem, or something like that. I mean, uh, you could do something very specific and build that with the theater platoon. So there's a lot of different variety to interest all different types of players, which is really cool as well. Um, you will, though, I think, have to be very open about the rules queries that will come up, especially with Case Blue. I think there will be some people. If anyone brings the train list, which it could be a thing, somebody will have to say, "Well, this it works like this, and that works like that," because there's a lot of questions marks for that one right now.
My friend Joe is painting up his train for the
Yeah,
Trans-Caucasus train
yeah,
list. So he is
yeah,
I'm hoping that he submits it.
yeah.
So we'll see if he decides to go for it. But yeah,
And
I
if it,
understand that I'm gonna have. That's why I have that Jeff is gonna help me out with being
yeah,
a co-TO for
yeah,
this. So I think answering a lot of the rules stuff is gonna be much easier, at least a much more streamlined process with two people instead of just me.
yeah. And then on day two, once you've, are you going to run this like Swiss draw and blue on blue, or are you going to run it with Allies versus Axis, or how's it, the
It
Operation Grizzly going to go?
it's going to entirely depend on the amounts, or like what the faction breakdown is, because I
Yeah.
don't have people saying, okay, I'm going to take Axis, or I'm not having people buying Axis or Allied tickets separately. They're just going to
Okay.
send me their list. So
Yeah.
it's likely going to be random round one and then Swiss round two and three.
Yeah.
and then same deal for on Sunday as well. That's how it's going to go. Except
Yes.
we'll get into that.
Yeah, let's get into that then, because Warbirds is focused on newer players. I really like that. I've been running tons of rookie tournaments here in Denmark, and it's always great because it's just somehow it's more fun. I don't know why, but it is. People have much more fun. I think it's because the experienced players don't really come to win when it's like focused on the new players. I'm just here to learn you the game. You can beat me. That's okay. Doesn't matter. Um, and 750 points. I really like that format. That will make for quicker games and easier for the newer players to sort of figure out what they want to do because there's not so many units. What were your thought process when you created this with Jeff?
Yeah, so this was largely Jeff's idea. He ran Warbirds a couple of years ago. This is his.
Yeah,
So we're bringing it back. But yeah, so 750 points, 10 dice max, generic required. Basically, the idea with having that low of a points value is we wanted to say, okay, if you even just have an infantry box and a tank,
yeah,
the first
that
two
would be
things that
enough.
you ever buy,
Yeah,
that is
that,
enough for you to
yeah,
play. And
yeah.
that was the whole intent. And also, we don't have a painting standard for this one. I think the
Yes.
minimum requirement is that it has to be primed, so no bare plastic. But even if you're like, I'm struggling to build all this stuff yesterday, like I bought all this stuff this week, let's see if I can get it on the
Yeah,
table. You are very much welcome to come play Sunday.
yeah,
And even veterans who are coming who've been playing for years, you are very much welcome
mm,
to come in. And we're hoping if we can teach new players the game, get them interested,
yeah,
then we can escalate. And if players want to play in both days, excellent. That's
yeah,
very much what I encourage. But even if you just want to play in one, or if you only feel that you're ready for the noob tournament,
yeah,
or if you're only up for Grizzly, that's also an opportunity as well.
yeah.
So that was kind of the idea. Was we wanted to make something that was very low barrier to entry,
Mm,
but you're still going to have loads of fun, and it's still a semi-competitive setting. There are
yeah,
prizes and everything like that.
yeah.
So gives you your first outing playing against outside maybe your local gaming group.
I would very much encourage veteran players to go and play in Warbirds as well, because having played that like rookie tournaments many times, it feels fresh, because people the newer players that you're facing have a new perspective on the game as well, and it's really fun. It's a way to meet new people. It's a way to build community as well. I really like that. Are you going to reuse the tables so that it's the same tables between the 2 days?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. So just to save on packing and organizing and everything,
yeah,
um, we're gonna bring in a bunch of tables, but we're also having a best battlefield competition both days, so players can bring their own terrain
yeah.
and provide a table, and then they get an entry to that. Players can vote on what table they like the best.
Mm,
That actually really helped me whenever I first starting out because I only have two
it really
tables.
does. Yeah,
So being able to have very personalized or very immersed
yeah,
terrain um, is really wonderful. So yeah, we're gonna carry over the tables from Grizzly onto Warbirds.
right. I know that you are going to be the ringer for Warbirds, and that Jeff will be for Grizzly. What are you thinking of bringing as your ringer list? Can you give us a little bit of a hint? I'm not holding you to anything, just a
Oh,
little bit of a hint.
100%, I'm bringing my Tiger.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I never
in a
get to use it.
750 points list, the
I
Tiger.
never get to I never get to use it.
Yeah,
I'm bringing the Tiger
of course you are.
and some support units, but
Of
really it's like, okay,
course.
if you kill the Tiger, you're going to crush me.
Yeah.
But uh who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, run it
Yeah.
up in the middle. We'll see if the 88 can hit just like it did this past weekend. But
Brilliant.
it could also die from an errant bazooka or a dog mine, and I'd be really
Yeah.
sad. But
Yeah.
yeah, expect a heavy Tiger tank.
That is just brilliant. That is brilliant. Now, you guys have already secured quite a lot of sponsors, which is really cool. Anything particularly you want to call out here for the sponsorships?
Absolutely, yeah. So obviously, like Warlord and Rubicon have been incredibly supportive. Same thing with Father and Son. I think Jason and Henry, who own Father and Son, they've been to or sent prize support to every single tournament that I've ever hosted, and so they've just been phenomenal guys out of Ohio.
Yeah.
And I very much think it's a privilege to work for them. So massive shout out to them. War Games Atlantic, I also reached out to them, and they've donated a couple of boxes as well.
Brilliant.
A couple of repeat sponsors from Cricket, Tabletop Terrain, Things from the Basement, and Michigan Toy Soldier. The Army Painter also sent us interesting certificates for everything, very high resolution photos and custom frames and everything like that. And then a couple of new ones that I wanted to highlight. So the first one is going to be Armchair History TV. I don't know if you've ever seen their videos on
I have
YouTube,
not.
but they do Griffin Johnson and that whole studio. They do some incredible historical content. It's all animated.
Mm,
But yeah, so they would run like D-Day from the American perspective, from the British perspective, or like how's
nice.
the Franco-Prussian War, or like all sorts of historical content. And I've been a long time subscriber to them for a
Mm,
couple of years now, and they had just recently opened up a their own studio, ArmchairHistory.tv, where they come out with all sorts of original content that maybe would be censored by YouTube, or they want to make sure that they can get that ad revenue themselves, or where if you want to watch content without ads.
mm.
So yeah, they kicked in a bunch of discount codes for us, which was cool. They also sent me some interesting merch, so mugs and shirts and things like that. And so I think it's an incredible privilege to work with them, because their studio has just been like, it's a very massive studio. So they're like, we've never supported an event like this, but this sounds awesome. So let's make it happen.
Brilliant.
So
Brilliant.
I wanted to do a massive shout out for them, as well as Battle Foam. I know they kind of got out of the prize support game a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
but I sent an email to some of their reps, and they were like, well, like, this seems really cool. We really want to support, get back into the hobby, maybe see if we can do it again.
Mm,
So this will be their inaugural prize support event. So they are actually providing full prizes for both Best Painted and Best Sportsman,
brilliant.
coming from Battle Foam, and
Oh,
they do some incredible cases.
yeah.
So I'm really excited to see.
Yeah.
I've been in Pittsburgh for the past few weeks. So once I get to my place back up in Michigan, I'll probably have a load of boxes to get through.
Brilliant.
But
That is just
yeah,
so cool. Um, so, Operation Grizzly, if you were going, what do you think you would bring?
so
If you were
oh,
going to go and play to win that.
see, I'm honestly infatuated by the new book. I really want to try the Case Blue, especially the Bersaglieri. With
Yeah.
the fact that they get fire and maneuver now.
Yeah.
I know the Italian armor selections may not be the best, but I think um, giving them the new special rules and maybe the enhanced theater selectors will give them some much needed help with like the cavalry that can charge twice or something
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
it would be a fairly low order dice list. I wouldn't hit the 14, because it's Bersaglieri and Vet Cab is going to be very
That's going
points
to be
intensive.
very
But
expensive.
but I think that's probably what I would take. It would give me a chance to paint up the rest of my Bersaglieri, and I really
Yeah.
want to take the new rules out for a spin.
Yeah.
So that's probably
Yeah.
what I would do.
Yeah. For me, I would also try out Italians, I think, but for a different reason and with a different build. I think I would go and look at their autocannons, because Italians can have autocannon vehicles in both the tank selection and in the armored car selection. So I would be looking at Saharianas, and because of the new rules from Case Blue, where you can re-roll penetration, that would be a very interesting build for me. Um, so what we're looking at here is that you can take 1,000 points. You have to take a theater selector, maximum 14 order dice, which means that you're going to have to get those veterans, as you said. Maximum of 2 flamers, maximum of 1 heavy howitzer, which, yeah, um, 1 multi-rocket launcher, maximum of 2 Gurkha units, or 2 bamboo spears. Um, so pretty normal comp, I think, for American events. We've talked about this before, where this moves sort of a little bit the meta in certain directions. Um, I think very like standard, right? Um, then you have different scoring. Could you just talk us through the scorings here?
Yes, yeah. So very similar to cricket. So we have, not only are your game results important, but your painting and sportsmanship are also important.
Yeah.
Um, And then I also have, for bonus points, I have the early list submission. So if you get your list to me before Christmas, you get 5 points, and that's to encourage people to pre-register and book their spot early. And I added something new. I added this list comp situation. And Andrew Verticchio at Chicago Dice is piloting this for Adepticon. And so I wanted to borrow that and see how it would work. So I'll give you an example. So I know a lot of the competitive guys love their inexperienced medium mortars.
Oh,
So
yes.
taking your inexperienced mortar when the rest of your force is regular or veteran, that would go against your comp score. So everybody
Okay.
starts with 5, then you
Yeah.
maybe go down to 4. Or if you're taking inexperienced jeeps or inexperienced transports or trucks when the rest of your force is veteran or regular, I'm trying to encourage people to take something that would probably be a little bit more realistic instead of min-maxing the pack.
Yeah.
So that's where that's coming in. And so maybe if you come in with a theater selector, if you take maybe 3 Saharianas, that probably would go against your comp with, like, that would go in the spam criteria or things like that.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a soft check against maybe some things that my initial restrictions missed.
Yeah.
So Jeff and I are going to go through the list together. We're going to see, okay, what's fair, what's breaking. And that's kind of our way as TOs to try and level the playing field a little bit.
And
just
give
to
out a few
avoid
extra
some more of the
points
problems.
for people not to be dicks with their lists.
Yes.
Which, okay. It would be very, very difficult for me to get those comp points, I think. But I think a lot of people will think about that, because 5 extra points. I mean, you can get 25 points for your game results, for your wins. So 5 points, that's not nothing if you want to go there and if you want to get the big prizes. Yeah. You'll be awarding best overall, best faction general. Is that for Axis and Allies?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I figured with
Best.
Case Blue, I would ditch best minor power. I'm sorry to the
Yeah.
chagrin of my French players,
Yeah.
but I think they got boosted enough with the rules to where they can have a pretty competitive game up
They
with the
can.
rest of them.
Yeah, they
So
can.
that's why they're going to be rolled into Axis and Allies.
Yeah. Best painted. Who's going to judge that, and how are you judging that? That has been one of the like key worries of many of the tournaments I've run, where I'm like, should I get like a commission painter to come and judge it? Should people be voting? How do you want to do it?
Yeah. So what I found has been a very solid compromise
Mm,
was, so I go through with painting rubric. So the Chicago Dice 2024 painting rubric is what I use.
mm,
And so myself and Jeff will be doing paint judging, and so that'll be part of it. The rest of it is every player gets a vote.
mm,
So if you find something that maybe you absolutely love this person's display board, you think they were great, but maybe they weren't necessarily the best on the rubric, or
mm,
maybe it's something that I missed,
yeah.
the players can tell me, say, oh, well, you voted for the Finnish player. You
Mm,
totally should have looked at the Stalingrad list. We all loved it.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that also so having that as like a 50-50 weight between player votes and the rubric score
Mm,
is a good compromise.
it is.
So that's
Yeah.
how I do it.
Yeah. It really is. And then best sportsman, best battlefield, and wooden spoon. Are you going to like give extra prizes to the wooden spoon because they've had a rough weekend, or what?
They tend and this has happened, I think, for every single, not this goes back to even when I first started playing Warhammer tournaments back in middle school and high school. The last place player would get new dice, and
Oh,
that has always
nice.
been
Yeah.
my
Yeah, they
present.
need it.
Yeah, so especially with ChessX being our
Mm,
sponsor,
mm,
new dice is always in order for the
yeah.
wooden spoon.
Yeah, it is. Right. And then we have the Warbirds, and we've also got the pack for that. So you can bring 750 points. You have to take a generic reinforced platoon, 10 order dice max, which I think should be enough for most lists at 750. 1 flamer, no heavy howitzers, no multi-rocket launchers, no free units, which I think is a brilliant idea. It in low points games, the free units massively distort the game balance. So you can get 20 points for winning and attrition points. That's what I would call kill points, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So every order dice you kill, you get a point.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you subtract your own losses for that, or is it just the kills that that you managed to get?
So I asked Jeff about this, and that's how I normally do it. I do
Yeah.
I do how many you killed minus how many you lost, but
Yeah.
Jeff is just going straight kill points.
Yeah. A lot of tournaments in Europe are only just are going straight kill points as well, because you already sort of the opponents have taken your dice, so they've got the kill points there. So no reason to draw them out of your pot, so to speak. And the awards will be first, second, and third place, best painted, best sportsman, best battlefield, and wooden spoon. So all the regular things that we want to teach new players, that this is the things that you get awards for. This is the thing that we are looking for, like behave well, be a nice person. If you lose, be nice about it, and we'll give you a big prize as well. Best painted, I really like that for beginning of events. At my rookie tournaments, I always make sure that it's only the rookies that can actually win first, second, third, and best painted. So they'll get all the awards for that. So how are you going to make sure that the veterans turn up for this? Although
So
I would highly encourage that they do, but yeah,
So there is a so there's a bit of a pricing arbitrage. So I have in and this is in the last list in the keynotes that I have. But it's more expensive to go for just one day, but if you go for the full weekend, you get a sizable discount.
nice.
Um, so encourage you. Well, if you're already traveling up for one day, if
Yeah,
you come to both, that would be awesome. And it just gives you a good change of pace. If you're a veteran and you want to say, well, okay, I went for the competitive event on Saturday. I want to try something new on Sunday. Let's say, what if I run all Panzer Grenadiers and half tracks for this one, or make some maybe new choices to try. I think that would be a good allure for the veterans. Say, well, okay, not
mm,
only am I able to grow the community and participate in a meaningful way as a leader in teaching someone who is very new at the game how to play, um, but try something new, try something that you never thought of before, or something that maybe is a bit you would say like not competitive or rivet
yeah.
countery in that you wouldn't necessarily take if you want to win to the first one. Completely throw all expectations out the window and just take what you like and take something that you really want to make an impact with. If you want to take a King Tiger and a bunch of inexperienced Germans, go do it. If you want to
Mm,
take a Pershing, go do it. Like, throw all expectations out the window and just come
yeah,
to have fun. So that's what
yeah,
I would very much encourage the veterans as, like, if you want to call it a palate cleanser,
yeah.
but that would be it.
Well, these rookie tournaments can be palate cleansers. So that's at least how I view them for myself. Now, you are playing as the ringer here. Um, so and what will that be? What would it be for me? 750 points. I think I would bring my partisans. I've just painted and built the partisans. I'm using them next weekend, so I think they would be joining me, and I think I would have at least 2 units of cavalry. No tanks. I don't want tanks in my partisan lists, but I want a lot of infantry. So I'll take all the infantry choices I can get and all the small teams as well. Um, and see if I can fit that within the 10 order dice limit. So there'll be a lot of veterans here. Veteran guerrilla fighters or late war partisans, I think, would be a thing for me. Um, yeah. What are you expecting people to bring? I mean, yeah, the veteran players bring something new and interesting. What do you think a new player would bring to this?
Uh, like we said at the beginning, oh, I come on now, gotta go down. I can't do that. Sorry, my puppy. He is
Yeah,
very bored, even though I already fed him
yeah.
this morning.
He wants attention.
um, like you cannot do that. Sorry. But actually, so I would say going back to what we said in the beginning, infantry box and a tank
Yeah,
is going to be the core.
yeah.
So if you come in like maybe with like your box of U.S. Marines and a Sherman,
Mm,
right? Actually, this picture that I included is from the demo day series that I did at my local hobby shop, Golden Rhino Games,
yeah.
where I had players buy a infantry box at the store, and
Mm,
then I gave them a month to build it up and paint it up, and then they came in and played 4 games.
nice.
It was a 300 point event which was really funny. So you'd come in with your lieutenant and 2 or 3 squads,
Yeah.
and see what's up. So that's very much what I'm expecting. So a core, maybe like your 2 to 3 squads, maybe plus a tank, a handful of small teams, and your lieutenant is probably what I would expect.
Yeah.
Or if players want to branch out and bring an armored car, let's say someone brought Gentleman's War, right? We'll run all, maybe like that's probably what they're running with. So they'll probably run all like veteran DAC with a couple of small teams in there and the 222 or a Humber.
Yeah.
So that's very much what I'm expecting. Very low barrier to entry stuff, like a lot of starter box and maybe is probably what I would call that.
I would also expect that a lot of these new players would want to at least start trying to paint some of their models. I see this quite a lot when we go to events, when you have that to look forward to. Typically they'll start working on the hobby stuff, which is some of the best things about going to an event actually, is that you work on all the stuff, that you build the terrain, or you make your bases finally, which is my big thing. I hate doing bases for my minis, but you paint it all up, you try at least, and you get further in, and maybe you're not finished on time, which I really like, that you can just show up with your primed models, but you can show up with them unpainted, but you'll typically just get a little bit more painted. So I would expect there to be a lot of hobbying being done from now and until January, which is
Yes.
brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Warbirds is, so we actually have a separate painting competition. So we don't have a painting requirement in Warbirds, but you can submit 1 unit or 1 tank to the best painted contest.
Yeah.
So everything can be primed, but if you're like, I really want to make sure my Sherman looks awesome, or I really have this unit of cavalry that I did a custom flag for, and all sorts of stuff. That gives you a lot less. You're like, okay, I'm going to work really hard on this 1 squad. That's all I got to do, and then I'll prime the rest, and that's totally fine. But yeah, like you were saying, it very much motivates you. I remember going to my first tournament, especially whenever I went to Adepticon or signed up for Adepticon. I bought my Soviet starter box and was like, all right, can I get this painted and based and everything in 2 months? My Soviets now look much worse compared to my other armies that I've done, my DAC that you've seen.
Well, one improves over time.
But that was super fun, and it really got me engaged to say, okay, well, I have the box and there is a painting requirement, so let's try something new. Let's learn. Let's take this first jump and see how I do. And it was just a ton of fun to see, and it was really motivating to see all of what all the veteran players could. That's also another thing that I would encourage you. It's like the veteran player that comes in with their awesome, French Maginot Line display board with all their cavalry and howitzers and all sorts of stuff. Like, oh man, I remember at Adepticon I saw this French player. He printed out custom maps for like the command center. He had portraits and custom flags, all this little detail that I never would have considered. And now I'm starting to put it in all my models, because I remember like, well, if this is what I can expect at Adepticon for, if I want to have any shot at best painted, or even just like if I want to play and feel welcome, like let's make it happen. I'm going to do what I can to learn how to be a hobbyist as well as a general.
Brilliant. And here at the end, we have some key information. I'll also link these in the doobly-doo, the description for this video. So these are the places you can go. Basically, you can reach out to Jeff or Jackson via their emails, and it costs $40 for 1 day and $70 for the full weekend, which is that discount you talked about, Jackson. Since this includes lunch, I think it's very reasonably priced as well for a whole weekend of gaming. That is brilliant. And all the details we've been talking about are on Chicago Dice. Any last words from you, Jackson?
Yeah, so at the moment we have 10 players signed up. We have room for many more, so definitely come out, tell your friends. I look forward to seeing everybody, and I'm excited to see what lists everyone dreams up. So yeah, Bo, thank you so much for having me on the channel, and I look forward to continuing this series. I think next episode we'll talk missions, right?
let's talk missions next time. And then once we see some of the lists and what happens, we can get back to this whole thing. Good luck, and let's see some signups, people. See you all there.
Sounds good.
Cheers.